In our first story, lecturers at the University of Education, Winneba, say they will not return to the classrooms even after the university was reopened Friday, following a temporary closure earlier this week. The action is in protest of the court case brought against the leadership of the university by a Winneba resident. The lecturers, who form part of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, made the declaration after a Winneba High Court heard the case Friday. Daniel Datze reports.
The University of Education Winneba, UEW, was dragged to court by Winneba resident Kofi Kwaira on June 5. Mr. Kwaira and his lawyer Alexander Apenyomakin are asking the court to nullify the extension of the tenure of the University Council and the appointment of some principal officers of the school, including the Vice-Chancellor. They argue the council's continued stay in office is illegal. On June 13, the court granted the plaintiffs an injunction to, among others, prevent the council from taking any decision pending the outcome of the case. At the hearing on Friday, lawyer for the university Peter Zwenes prayed the court to dismiss the case on the grounds of improper procedure, among others. His argument was, however, vehemently opposed by lawyer Markin. An earlier injunction sought by the plaintiff in the case resulted in the university management shutting down all of its campuses across the country. Management has, however, rescinded its decision and opened the university Friday, as the university registrar Dr. Kwame Nsa confirmed to Joy News. Lawyer Apenyomakin applauded the university for its decision to reopen the facility, saying it echoed the opinion of the judge on the matter.
They are not supposed to do anything to undermine the pending application for injunction. Clearly, they are not supposed to shut down the university, and I'm sure you heard the sentiment of the court. I mean, so we waiting.
It is, however, difficult to tell if the school will indeed open its doors on Monday, as the university lecturers are refusing to return to the classrooms. Dr. Samuel Bekwin is president of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, on the UEW campus.
It wasn't university management that closed down the university. It is the members of the university community that asked that the university should be closed down because we said that we're not going to work. And I'm reiterating that fact that UTAG is still standing on that point, that until we see a way clear as to what the attack is coming to us, that the attack has been resolved or something of that sort, we are still holding on to our decision.
So is it an action being taken by UTAG as a body?
Exactly, and not university management.
So even now that the registrar is saying the university is not closed down, you are saying UTAG will not teach?
Exactly. UTAG will not work.
Why?
Because, as I've said, we feel that we are an attack and we have to act to protect our interests.
What of the students who would be going to the classroom and would be looking for their lecturers to teach them?
Because of the students' interest now, I must sacrifice my future. I won't do that. He is attacking 65,149 students who are graduated that they should lose their certificate. So the students will be on our side. We have struggled to teach students and graduated them, and you said they should lose their certificate. And you said we shouldn't be concerned about that. We are very much concerned about that.
Now, corruption in the judiciary, mob justice, delays in the justice system, political judgments and the use of contempt laws. These issues dominated the vetting process of Chief Justice nominee Justice Sophia Akuffo on Friday when she appeared before Parliament's Appointments Committee. Madam Sophia Akuffo was nominated by the President after her predecessor Georgina Wood ended her tenure. If approved, she will become the second female Chief Justice to have served the country. The process was expected to last over 10 hours. But after 6 hours, members of the committee wrapped up the session, but not without grilling her on some topical issues. Of course, the issue of contempt came up. As you may know, Madam Sophia Akuffo presided over the panel that sentenced 3 journalists, popularly known as Muntie 3, to jail for 4 months after they were found to be in contempt of the Supreme Court in July 2016. The 3 had threatened the lives of Supreme Court justices during a live radio program. The nominee dismissed suggestions that the law on contempt was being used in an overly punitive manner.
With the contempt case, contempt of court is not intended to gag anybody. Contempt of courts, its focus is on the protection of the sanctity and integrity of the judicial process. It's intended to protect the process itself, not even the individuals who were offended. No, it is to protect the institution, because excuse me, honorable legislators, at the end of the day, it is when the justice system breaks down, that's when a nation breaks down. And if there are countries without legislators, they manage. There are countries with dubious executive structures, they manage. So long as there's something they can call the judiciary. If there's no judiciary, then we are back in the jungle. Thank you.
Still on that matter, she responded to concerns by some committee members that the judges had become jurors in their own courts.
Invariably, when there is that type of contempt, the judiciary relies on the Office of the Attorney General to do the prosecution. You will recall that in the case you mentioned, that did not happen weeks after the contempt had been committed. So it was an exceptional circumstance, but it is fully backed by the law that governs contempt. Normally, contempt, the most common type of contempt would be in the face of the court, and there the court will immediately deal with it because it is something which has occurred. So there is no need for a hearing as to whether it did or did not occur. Natural justice, invariably, the person is given the opportunity to purge their contempt. But in the case of the Muntie 3, we did not give them that opportunity. But they did get the opportunity to put up a case if they wanted to. They were represented by a whole bevy of high-powered lawyers, and they, in the end, decided to plead guilty. When a person pleads guilty, you proceed to sentence.
Now, MPs also used the opportunity to quiz her about corruption in the judiciary, which she admitted is a problem that must be dealt with. Listen to her on how she would address the problem.
The importance is what you do about the negative impressions. Some of it you address by making your processes and procedures more open and more known, better known to the public, so that it does not seem like you're working some hocus pocus or some magic. Also, it is important that where discipline of the internal players being the judiciary, or for that matter, the judicial service staff, where disciplinary issues arise, those also need to be dealt with without any favoritism and without any selectivity, and in an open and transparent manner, so that those outside know that something is being done, and those inside know that something is being done and will be done if they also breach any of the rules.
While the nominee also shared her views on lawyers advertising on social media, it follows the public backlash against the General Legal Counsel's decision to ban human rights lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu from practicing for 3 years after he was found guilty of advertising his services on social media.
The idea of lawyers touting themselves on social media is personally distasteful to me, but that aside, the law is there clearly against touting because it is considered an improper conduct on the part of a lawyer. And advertising, self-advertisement is one of those that have been frowned on in many jurisdictions. There are jurisdictions that permit it, but I have not studied the scope of those permissions. But Facebook, Twitter, and so on and so forth.
Well, Madame Sophia Kufu's responses to the questions posed by the committee members have received mixed reactions. While some MPs found them satisfactory, others weren't too happy. Watch.
I was impressed. She impressed me by standing by the truth at all times, and that should be the mark of a good judge. A good judge must stand by the law, no matter what. And that's exactly what she did. When she said a matter is sub judice, yes, it means the law has caught her. The matter is under judicial consideration, either in the court or on appeal, and therefore if she expressed any opinion on it, it meant that she will prejudice the issue before the court. And I admired her for telling us the truth. Yes, the matter you are raising are matters under judicial consideration, and therefore permit me not to comment on it, so that I will be found to have fallen foul of the law.
So eventually expected to be approved one day she comes to the floor of the House. That's no doubt.
Well, I have no doubt that she's going to receive a unanimous approval.
If the Judicial had to intervene because they thought that the Attorney General was not to his responsibilities or was not taking action. Now you have a situation where nolle prosequi has been filed. For how many weeks now? So I asked that, can we envisage safely, based on the judiciary's own precedents that is set in the Montier 3 case, that it will also take over this matter to do with the Delta 8 and
didn't exactly respond.
Yeah. So she says that that's something that may happen in the future, so she cannot speak.
Were you satisfied with that response that she gave you?
I wasn't. I thought that she opted to be cagey and opted to be evasive.
Well, the Appointments Committee is expected to meet over Friday's session and present its report to the House next week. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a short break. There's more ahead. Don't go away. You're welcome back. Now, prison officials in Kumasi are treating the collapse of a portion of the central prison's outer wall as a security threat. The wall collapsed after a rainstorm Thursday night. The development is said to be hampering work of prisons officials. Public Relations Officer of the Ashanti Region Prison Service, ASP Richard Bukari, says the entire outer wall of the prison needs reconstruction. Blabber FM's Erastus Asare Donko reports.
In what could have been a major tragedy, this wall collapsed last night at a time when there was not much activity here. It could have led to loss of lives because this is a commercial area. This exposes the weakness in the whole prison system. Concerns have been raised about the old building and the need to reinforce it. This vehicle you see behind me was sitting on top of just close to the wall in there. And as it collapsed, it toppled with the wall itself. Now, it is also raising more concerns about the structure itself, the main prison structure. You could see cracks on it all. And so it is raising concerns that it's time, perhaps, authorities turn attention to the main facility itself, reinforce it, or perhaps consider a relocation of the prison.
From what happened, you can see the wall was already weak. This is a building over 50 years old, and no much structural adjustments have been done to it. So you can see that it is the failing that made it weak, and the rainstorm contributed in bringing it totally down.
Did you anticipate this?
Oh, we didn't anticipate it, and that is why we call it a natural disaster. We only had information last night that the wall had been toppled, and it wasn't just the wall that came down. It came down along with our bus, our service bus, and indeed the major problem now is the bus, unlike the wall, though they both are problems. But this bus, as you can see, is the bus that we use for a majority of our activities here, be it conveying inmates to court, to the farm, to the hospital, and even for transfer of inmates from the central facility or any facility within the region to another region. So indeed it is the bus that is our biggest blow at the moment. Not only that, the wall that has been toppled exposes the canteen to public view from whichever angle that
and it has security implications as well.
Yes, and it has security implications, though there are men around, but we can't take it for granted. Now it exposes the canteen to intruders and even outsiders who will not have any business doing there. And once one is able to have easy access to the canteen, it equally means that there can be easy access to the main prison wall.
Perhaps the collapse of this wall is a warning that a stitch in time saves nine. Perhaps we can also consider what politicians have touted for a long time of relocating this prison to another place. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Love FM, Kumasi.
Now, 2 Chinese nationals accused of engaging in illegal mining have been rearrested following an order by an Accra High Court. This was after it emerged they were freed, although they failed to meet the bail conditions as spelled out by the court 2 weeks ago. The two were arrested together with the suspected Chinese galamsey kingpin, popularly known as Aisha Wang. Joseph Akablay was in court and now reports.
So proceedings started on a note of controversy. This came up when State Attorney handling the case, Mercy Arthur, informed the court that they were unable to comply with a directive asking that they amend their charge sheet if they so desired. She therefore pleaded for some more time. Justice Baden was unhappy with that particular development. The State Attorney once again informed the court that it had come to her attention that 2 of the accused persons had failed to meet the bail conditions, yet they were allowed to go home. She pointed out that the 2 had not submitted their passports to the court as directed. Now, the explanation coming from their lawyers was that the 2 individuals lost their passports when they were being apprehended by officers of the Ghana Immigration Service. The judge, unhappy about this development, decided to rescind the bail granted the 2 gentlemen, ordering their rearrest immediately. They were subsequently picked up by officers of the Ghana Immigration Service and expected to be taken to the Nsawam prison. They are required to provide the 2 passports, after which they will be granted bail. But hearing of the substantive matter continues on July 6. Reporting for Joy News, Joseph Akablay.
And still at the courts, the Judicial Press Corps has petitioned the Office of the Acting Chief Justice, demanding an apology from a magistrate who sacked journalists from a courtroom during the trial of 2 men accused of murdering former Ibuakwa North MP J.B. Dankwa Edu on Thursday. Dean of the Press Corps, Wilberforce Asari, has been speaking to Joy News.
We filed a 9-point petition to the Acting Chief Justice. Essentially, what we sought to do in our petition was to let him know the incident that happened on the 15th of June, and also to express the fact that we are not satisfied and we are not happy about the decision of the judge in question not to allow journalists into her courtroom. The next thing we are seeking is that the Chief Justice, or for that matter, the Acting acting Chief Justice will reprimand this particular judge and draw her attention to the fact that at all material times, she's supposed to allow journalists into her court to cover any proceedings once she's hearing a case in open court. We also took the opportunity to reiterate our commitment to the fact that we are committed to obeying the rules that govern the coverage of court proceedings, and that we do not have any intentions of going against the laws and the bylaws. We also took the opportunity to assure the judicial service, and for that matter the authorities, that we are committed to covering and making sure that we bring to the people of Ghana all the details that proceed or emanate from our courts without fear or favor.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. I'm Araba Kumsin. Still ahead though, the principal and accountant of the Tepa Nursing and Midwifery Training College, cited in the alleged fraud and financial malfeasance, desert the school. We also have business after the break. Don't go away. You're welcome. It's time for business, and I almost said sports. Yes, I don't know why sports is on my mind. But Emmanuel, welcome. What's in business?
Well, in business tonight, Araba, you remember about 2 or 3 years ago, a ban was placed on vegetable exports from here into European countries.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Now, the Minister of Agriculture is assuring that the ban will come to an end come September this year.
Okay, that's good news.
Yes.
All right, give us the details.
And thank you very much for joining me on business. Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Efi Yakutu, has assured his outfit will ensure the EU vegetable ban is lifted. The European Union placed a ban on the importation of certain vegetables in 2015 for failing to meet international quality standards. Speaking to Joy Business at the Ghana Veg Expo, Dr. Efi Yakutu said he's hopeful the country will meet the set standards come September when the EU team is scheduled to visit.
The ban on fruits and vegetables was placed by the Food and Veterinary Office of the European Commission. This was attributed to the presence of harmful organisms in exported produce from Ghana. Originally up to December 2016, the ban was further extended to December 2017. In an interview at the sidelines of the closing ceremony of the Ghana Veggie Expo, Agric Minister Dr. Efi Yakutu said he's hopeful the country will pass the required test this time round.
The European Union has come up with certain conditions based on which the ban will be lifted. And they are very specific on the actions that we have to take. So we are making sure that these actions are taken. In addition to that, we are taking the opportunity of these actions to comply with the EU regulations, also to restructure our own internal arrangements to do with the plant protection and service, which, as I said, we found to be very wanting in terms of the number of the personnel manning its activities at the ports of entry and also in the regions. But I'm very confident that with all the work that we've done so far, the collaboration of the stakeholders, and the stakeholders, we are talking about the freight forwarders, the airlines, the shipping lines, customs and others, that we are in a position, we are prepared now, ready to receive the delegation from the EU, the audit team coming in September, so that the ban can be lifted to enable business to go on.
The award ceremony was held to reward outstanding vegetable companies as part of closing ceremony for the Ghana Veggie Expo. Award winners included Jokopan Limited, who took Best Product for Export Market, Eden Tree Limited for Best Business Innovation, AB Farms for Most Sustainable Business, and Kukobila Nasia Farms for Most Inclusive Business, among others. Some awardees called on government to address challenges in the industry.
The immediate solution that I'm looking forward to is a solution to the energy cost. Energy is very high, and with the perishables, you need the cold chain. So that is actually costing us a lot. I don't know if we can explore solar, if we have access to solar, that will bring the cost of energy down, and just tap the energy of the sun. That would be so helpful.
The production aspect is more problematic. We have to rely on irrigation systems Of course, we are fortunate to be by the Nation River, but not all our farmers have the benefit of being by a river. So as much as we want to encourage other farmers to come into production, we have to support them with water systems. Water systems also require energy to pump. And I would say the biggest problem we are facing is the cost of energy to pump the water. We're trying to go into solar, and it's being equally more expensive.
Ghana Veg is an initiative by the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands in line with efforts towards prioritizing commercial agriculture.
Government is advancing moves towards issuing a long-term bond to settle the energy sector debts, as it has appointed Fidelity Bank and Standard Chartered Bank as joint lead managers for the transactions. The two banks were selected out of 10 proposals received in response to the request for proposals. This follows a recent revelation by the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, of government's plans to issue a 15-year bond to clear the debts of the state-owned energy companies. So what exactly does the selection of the two banks mean for this move? That's more in this Business Desk report.
The transaction advisors on behalf of government as the sponsor are expected to set up a special purpose vehicle to issue the energy bond to the tune of about 10 billion Ghana cedis, the total estimated legacy debt within the energy sector. The bond to be listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange will be issued on the back of proceeds from the Energy Sector Levy Act. A portion of the bond proceeds shall also be used to refinance previously restructured debt due banks that are currently being repaid with receivables from the Energy Sector Levy Act, as well as the debt bulk oil distributors or banks. Fidelity Bank and Standard Chartered Bank are expected to work closely with other financial institutions as co-managers to build capacity locally and facilitate knowledge transfer. The Finance Ministry believes the bond issuance would ultimately resolve the challenges of the energy sector, improve the country's debt sustainability outlook, whilst deepening the domestic capital market to promote broader economic growth.
Now, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry France Ghana, Delphine Adeno-Owusu, says the Chamber will focus on Ghana's tourism potential in the country this year. The Chamber, together with the French Embassy, is working towards driving investments into the sector due to the potential of Ghana's tourism industry. Now, France is one of major trading and development partners of the EU.
Sector for us, we really believe that tourism can be a good opportunity for Ghanaian economy to grow. As for that, we are going to organize actually in November a forum on tourism with French companies coming to showcase what they have been doing in France. And we are really expecting Ghana to, to show that tourism really can become something, a pillar of the economy, just as oil and gas or just as cocoa. So we are going to look at that, and I was actually working on this just before you came. And we know, for example, in the tourism sector, there's a lot of need in the training as a whole. So this is also something we will look at. So really, depending on the sector, there's different things to do. So for us, this year, I know we will focus a lot on tourism with this conference, with this huge conference. But I mean, there's still a lot to do, which is good. I mean, we still have a way to grow, so it's nice.
Emerging brand in the banking industry, Premium Bank, has introduced new products and services to break grounds in the banking sector. The bank launched a new branch at Makola in Accra. Speaking to Joy Business at the opening ceremony, branch manager Jamila Sifa revealed that the bank focus has remained on meeting the needs of small and medium-scale enterprises.
The opening of the new Makola branch of the Premium Bank will offer small and medium-scale enterprises of the Central Business District of Accra an opportunity to do business. Branch manager Jamila Sifa tells Joy Business the new branch will see to making SMEs in Accra competitive through the provision of competitive lending rates.
Premium Bank is actually a bank for SME. We are looking at doing SME business, the totality. Any need you have about SME, we are there for you. And so as Makola branch, as Makola is the SME hub, is in Accra Central. This is the business center of the city. And so it's best that we are located here at Makola. And as you can see, our branch is near to all the businesses you can have in Accra. So that's why we are here. We are looking at doing SME business. And so we have a help station desk that has the right and ability and responsibility to take care of SME needs.
Jamila Sifat revealed that Premium Bank will be considering taking up to 20% of the market share before the end of 2017.
We are looking at having a share of at least 10 to 20% of the market share from now, because it's just 6 months to the end of the year. Then from next year, we increase our share. And so that's what we are looking at.
The new branch is located on the ground floor of the Methodist Bookshop building in Accra. Premium Bank also has 2 other branches in Accra and Takoradi.
And that's all in business tonight. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good weekend.
You're welcome back. The principal and accountant of the Tepa Nursing and Midwifery Training College have deserted the school following media reports of alleged admission of fraud and financial malfeasance against them. Victoria Amwa and Charles Asamoah cannot account for over 1 million Ghana cedis in development levies, hostel and other fees paid by the students. The situation has been ongoing since 2011 while students endure congestion and insanitary conditions. Love FM's Erastus Asare Donko, who has been investigating developments, returned to gauge the mood of students after the first report prompted national security action.
Evidence shows authorities issued fake receipts bearing the stamp of the accountant for interview and results verification fees. An estimated 52,500 Ghana cedis in matriculation fees paid by 5 streams of health assistance students remains unaccounted for, though no ceremony has taken place from 2011 to 2015. Over 142,000 Ghana cedis realized in double charging of students in development levies per year is suspected to have gone into private pockets. Several thousands of Ghana cedis spent on travels by the principal, as well as huge volumes of fuel drawn illegally by the principal and the accountant, have left stakeholders in shock. In the midst of such shady deals, Tepa Nursing and Midwifery Training School is confronted with many challenges. Students speak of 2 weeks without water supply due to a broken down pumping machine. This has led to insanitary conditions at the lavatories, as students have to trek 2 miles to fetch from a public borehole. The school has no defined land boundary, as students share space with stray animals. This male hostel houses about 80 students packed together in a congested space. Now, just on my left here, you can see that dilapidated structure. We thought it wasn't being used, but as we stood here, we saw female students enter to attend to nature's call. And so we found out from the students that this toilet here, which looks better than this one belongs to the male students, and this is used by the female students. Now, just a few meters from it, you can see the canteen. Maybe it strikes a health hazard. Flies from this facility easily enter food. To my right here. Clearly, levies charged students may not have been used for their intended purposes. Students and other stakeholders are demanding a probe into all the allegations to restore sanity. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asare Donko, Love FM, Kumasi.
Now, 15-year-old police officers, that's going to be a reality in Ghana in a matter of months if the Ghana Police Service carries out its plan. The service says it is seeking to recruit more than 36,000 young men and women under the Youth Employment Agency. The recruitment process is expected to begin in August through to November, and persons as young as 15 could apply and be listed into the service as volunteer officers. This was made known at a new joint news conference organized by the Ghana Police Service and the Youth Employment Agency on community safety and security innovation in Accra.
According to the police and the YEA, the introduction of the program will create jobs for thousands of young men and women, awaken the security consciousness of community members, as well as serve as a major source of recruiting qualified, passionate, and well-deserving officers of integrity into the police service. The recruitment is also expected to activate the consciousness of Ghanaians in crime prevention, social justice, and community welfare. Director General at the National Patrol Department of the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Yaji Akuriba, says they are hopeful this and other interventions will ease the unemployment burden facing the country.
The Ghana Police Service is introducing a more professional, cost-effective, and community-friendly model of policing where state resources budgeted for security in general can be shared to minimize the frustration of our unemployed youth. Security, as we all know, is a shared responsibility, and the part that is expected to be played by a community which laid dormant for years is being activated with the innovation to promote community peace, safety, and security.
Deputy Chief Executive of the Youth Employment Agency says the innovation will be under the direct supervision of the police service instead of the YEA.
The process is very simple. There will be an advert on our portal, or what we call our website. Anybody who is a Ghanaian and you are between the ages of 15 to 35, just go to our website and apply. It is our hope and it is our belief that after 2 years of intensive training and working with the Ghana Police Service, if there's a need for them to do recruitment, those who will meet the requirement, we are hoping and appealing to the Ghana Police Service to give them a priority.
Well, a youth group in Savelugu, the Concerned Youth of Savelugu, has called on the people of the area to stop the needless demonstrations that have characterized the nomination and confirmation of the Municipal Chief Executive, Hajia Aishetu Seidu. The group said the continuous demonstration would not only affect the MCE, but the entire development of the municipality. Addressing a news conference in Savelugu Friday, the MPP Communications Director for Nanton, Al-Hassan Abdul Latif, called on the demonstrators to stop pursuing self-seeking interest of their paymasters and think of the collective interest of the area. He said the area has serious challenges that needs to be addressed and called for a ceasefire among the 20 other contenders whose supporters, he claimed, demonstrated against the MCE.
Nanton, this is our second time of having the opportunity to manage the affairs of the constituency. Are we saying that we will not come back to ask or to seek the mandate from the people come 2020? But what we are doing today, we should not forget that some people sacrifice their political will and their political objectives just to support us because we presented good candidates. The appointment and confirmation of Hajia Aisha has further deepened cracks in us. People have come out to level wild allegations against our two MPs. I'm talking of Honorable Mr. Somet Gunu and that of Honorable Alaji Hadi Tufeiro. People level allegations that they are behind the nomination and confirmation of Hajia Aisha. Whilst on the other hand, other people are blaming the executives of the party in the two constituencies. Others have also gone ahead to blame the regional and the national executives of our party. To worsen it all, others have called our president all sorts of names. Is that the very party that will come back to 2020 to convince people to join us to vote in order to retain power? Do we always want to stay in oppositions just as we did for over 8 years? It is definitely no, and any of us would never and ever want to go back to opposition. If my call is right, it is therefore for us, all of us, rise up to this particular occasion to bring peace and unity to our constituency. The major stakeholders, at this point, I call on polling agents, polling station executives, you have greater role to play. Talk to your boys, talk to your men and women, tell them to refrain from chaos. We all know, we all agree that violence would never and ever make the president rescind his decision. We also know very well that the constituency executives would have to talk and talk and talk in order to convince people to join us. Don't forget that we are causing more harm and making it difficult for communicators like myself to defend the party, especially when it comes to matters concerning Sablogo Nanton municipality.
Abdul Latif noted that if Hajia Aishetu Seidu was not their preferred choice, they should have voted against the nomination rather than endorsing her.
I must state that there are better ways of dealing with this. Can't we move on to Accra to talk to His Excellency the President to do something about it? Is it that we had to demonstrate before Hajia Aisha was appointed? Is that what we are saying? These demonstrations only began when she was appointed. So if we want to change it, let's follow the due process that we followed before the appointment of Hajia Aisha. Lastly, I'm calling on all the people who applied or who showed their interest in this particular position. Their future, I mean political future, is at stake in this particular case. People are using their names to do all sorts of things. People tend to believe that they are behind the chaos in this particular municipality. It is good they come out, if nothing at all, to issue a press statement stating that they are never and ever associated with this particular issue. It is also true that the security agencies should also come to our aid by making sure that all those who violate the principles, the rules, are brought to book. I am not above the law. All of us here are not above the law. Even the president himself, who believes in the...
Now, the governing New Patriotic Party has inaugurated a 16-member committee tasked to oversee the successful organization of the party's delegates conference scheduled for August this year. The 16-member committee is headed by the party's vice chairman, FF Anto. Other members of the committee include youth organizer Samir Uku and Central Regional Minister Kwamina Duncan. Acting General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, John Bwedu, who inaugurated the committee Friday, said the members were carefully selected based on their rich experience and proven track record in party organization, particularly in events at the national level.
The composition of this committee is headed by our only vice chairman of the party, Mr. FF Anto. He will head the committee, or he will be the chairman of the committee. Mr. Kwabna Bankwayeboa, our national treasurer, is a member of the committee. Samia Uku, the national youth organizer, is a member of the committee. Kamal Din Abdullah, the national Nasara coordinator, is a member of the committee. Mr. Robert Kutin, who is the chairman of the party in the central region, is a member of the committee. Kwamina Duncan, who used to be the secretary of the party for a very long time in the region, is a member. There's a need, as we do all the time, to put together astute party members who have done it before. You see our congresses and our rallies, they are masterpieces. What it means is that there are people behind the scenes who work tirelessly to make sure that you see what you see. And we expect that the array of experienced people that the party steering committee have recognized to form this committee will make sure that this Congress become another masterpiece. And I can assure you that this year also being the 25th year that the party was also formed, will also feature prominently in their activities and their planning.
The head of local government services is blaming official collusion between political appointees and administrative heads for increasing number of abandoned projects. Dr. Nana Atto-Arthur says metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives and coordinating directors connive to sign contracts above budgetary allocations. He He was speaking at a meeting in Kumasi with some staff of the local government service in the Ashanti region. Nanaya Ojima reports.
Dr. Atto Arthur reveals some coordinating directors connived with finance officers in the transaction process to siphon public funds. He decries such misconduct of administrative heads who are expected to put political appointees in check to prevent unnecessary debts. Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly alone owes contractors and suppliers about 119 million Ghana cedis. Dr. Arthur hints on measures to reverse the trend.
This Assembly Common Fund is, for example, 5 million Ghana cedis. 2 releases had gotten to that particular assembly by August. But between August and December 2016, they were awarding contracts to the tune of about 5 million Ghana cedis. Although their total 5 million Ghana cedis, they had received 2.5 already, and they had actually appropriated the 2.5 million Ghana cedis. So, assuming that all the remaining were even supposed to have used for only projects, how were you going to find the extra 2.5 million Ghana cedis from? And that has led to so many uncompleted projects dotted all over various assemblies.
Meanwhile, the local government services has commenced processes to automate revenue collection.
The whole world is now driven by ICT. We therefore need to take advantage of it to improve on revenues and therefore reduce the over-reliance on central government releases to finance development projects. This can be maximized if assemblies adopt ICT strategies to facilitate identification of properties and revenue sources. It's on this call that I wish to embark on the crusade to ensure that digital mapping system is embraced by MMDAs to improve revenue source identification and collection.
Nanaya Ojima reported.
Now, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Fisa-Jaba, says her ministry is working in earnest to address major issues affecting children in the country. She said various interventions such as the Strategic Framework for Ending Child Marriages are meant to protect children. She was speaking at a Tepa in Accra to mark the 2017 AU African Day of the Child.
We are also campaigning against child marriage. The initiatives include the Strategic Framework for Ending Child Marriage, which comes with a 2-year action plan. We officially launched the ending of child marriage a month ago. We have had a capacity building workshop on increased advocacy for ending child marriage through the engagement of the media in West and Central Africa in partnership with our donor partners like Plan. Indeed, no girl should be a bride, as it affects their education negatively and limits opportunities to develop their potentials. It is very important that every girl child of school-going age in Africa should be in school, stay in school, and complete education. Furthermore, the ministry is developing a 5-year strategic plan to end teenage pregnancy to ensure that girls complete their education and acquire skills for productive lives.
Now, 5 months ago, Joy News told the story of how hundreds of physically challenged persons in remote Kani in the Upper West region engaged in vegetable farming were making a living for themselves despite having various forms of disability. The story revealed how challenges with irrigation and broken fences threatened to erode all the hard work they were putting into making a living. Well, 5 months on, Joy News' Komla Adum reports 2/3 of vegetables produced by these visually impaired farmers were lost to the activities of rampaging cattle and poor irrigation systems.
Scenes from our first visit to Kani in December. Over 400 physically challenged inhabitants were tilling the land in preparation for commencement of the cultivation of their vegetables. It was an inspiring story for many, as the idea of coming together to engage in dry season vegetable gardening for people who are suffering various forms of disability was lauded. According to them, proceeds these physically challenged individuals made from their vegetable garden were used to cater for their children and other dependents. With very little support from outside, these visually impaired residents defied the odds to be productive. They lamented the activities of rampaging livestock on their farms was bringing their hard work to naught, while broken water canals from the only water source about 500 meters away was also affecting irrigation of their crops. 5 months since Joy News' visits, the visually impaired farmers are harvesting what is left of the vegetables on the garden. The devastation from the drought and lack of irrigation is evident. A huge proportion of vegetables in the garden are stunted, with no fruits, while some hectares of the garden yard had been destroyed by roving cattle. It's a sunny afternoon here in Kani, and visually impaired Maria is on her garden harvesting what is left of her okra vegetables. Despite her inability to see, she is able to carefully locate the ripe okra fruits from their stalk.
What's the size of this piece? What's the size? Honorable.
She tells me, like her other colleagues, she's lost almost a third of her produce due to unavailability of water to the garden and the rampaging cattle that stray into the fenceless garden. She's unable to quantify what she's been able to grow and harvest.
We used to cultivate and harvest large quantities prior to the destruction of the garden by cattle, and then the water challenge. Due to these challenges, we lose almost half of our produce. We need urgent help, otherwise our hard work will be in vain.
Maria, however, is not alone. Peter, a father of 3, was not spared the destruction. He laments proceeds from the harvest are woefully inadequate to cater for his children's fees, one of whom has to stay home despite passing his exam to pursue tertiary education.
We face enormous challenges here. I still have children in school. One of my sons passed out recently from Nandom Senior High School, but is unable to further his education in medicine because I cannot raise enough money from this garden. All the money I invest here is even depleted. I need help.
Some residents who are venturing into pig farming have not been spared the brunt of water challenges either. At an event organized by an Accra-based NGO, Macedonia Jerusalem Mission, to donate clothing and other items to the hundreds of physically challenged residents and their dependents, Pastor Cyril Africa, who was touched by the efforts of the visually impaired farmers, appealed for support to fence the over 10-acre vegetable garden and also fix the broken water canals to aid proper irrigation.
I've never seen people that can't see and still make their own gardening. So I'm appealing to whoever sees this video clip, put your hands deep in your pocket. Please help us. They need a fence to cover up their gardening for 5 hectares. And they also need some NGO, anybody that can help them with. We need funds. We want to open up the canals that brings the water into their gardens.
Chief of Kani, Na Charles Samba Bechibi, noted the challenges are threatening to put the residents out of their livelihood and appealed for support.
The poverty that we hinted on, it is fact causing a lot of hardships. Where we want to go, we can go. What we want to do, we can do. My youth, as the young men behind me here, they don't have employment. And so you just see them wobbling, they don't know where to go. Even this garden, for instance, is a irrigation dam, but it is not very big enough to let all of them go into the project farming or any other thing. Secondly, you know, our land we base on rain, the rainfall. And when we don't have the rainfall, but it's very hard. I always want to see Kani, as you just put it, if God willing, so that you can do better things for us.
Macedonia Jerusalem Mission was in the community far off the Upper West Regional Capital to donate clothing, farm implement, among others, to the physically challenged residents as part of its outreach for the first quarter of the year. Komla Adum, Kani, Upper West Region.
Now, the crew of British vessel HMS Protector has set sail after a 5-day official engagement in Ghana. Although its main mandate is sampling and data collection, the ship also offers navigational charts, humanitarian aid, and provides maritime protection to British allies as and when needed. My colleague Jennifer Ikwama was aboard the HMS Protector and his father's report.
If you're a lover of ships and science, then this is a dream come true. To my left is the HMS Protector. It's a Royal Navy ship, 90 feet long and crew 100 strong. Now, 4 months out of 12, they are based in the Antarctica, where they collect samples and study those samples and share it with alliance nations on the ecological damage, on climate change, and on maritime protection. I'm going aboard. Come and join me. The HMS Protector is a Royal Navy ice patrol ship commissioned for exploring the Antarctica, which lies in the southernmost hemisphere of the Earth. 6 years ago, it was commissioned to undertake scientific research in the Antarctica. But beyond its research work, it also undertakes humanitarian work in various countries where it occasionally docks. Over the last 5 days, it was docked at the Tepa harbor, and crew have been engaging with various ministries, including defense. Captain of the HMS Protector, Angus Ensai, treated me to a tour around the ship and showed me how the crew collects their samples and why their work is essential for environmentalists.
So we work very closely with the British Antarctic Survey and with international efforts to monitor the ecosystem in Antarctica. Antarctica is a pristine wilderness. Under the Antarctic Treaty, we're all obliged to keep it as it is. So we're very careful to take out everything we brought into Antarctica and ensure that all our international partners are doing the same thing. We also support the scientists with climate studies. We have scientists on board when we deploy down there, and we make sure that we do photographic records of everything we can see. So if there is glacial retreat, we're able to map that using photographs and utilising unmanned systems. So we send up drone helicopters to map the retreat of glacial erosion.
At 90 feet, or the size of a football pitch, the HMS Protector is not the largest ship on the high seas. And since it's a patrol ship, it's not heavily armed either. But this doesn't stop it from intervening in perilous situations.
In 2013, I was the commanding officer of HMS Daring, one of our destroyers, and we happened to be sailing past the Philippines when Typhoon Haiyan struck, the largest typhoon in recorded history, with 220-mile-an-hour winds. And we spent 3 weeks visiting outlying communities on remote islands to give them the support and assistance they needed. We put the roofs back on their schools, we gave them fresh drinking water, we repaired all their fishing boats so they could get out and return to their livelihoods.
But the HMS Protector is more than just a floating laboratory. It provides humanitarian assistance as well as security at sea for vessels belonging to Britain and its allies. Captain Angus Ensai explains further.
We train it regularly with any maritime helicopters we can find to come out and exercise with us, but we do have a doctor on board, we have medics on board who are trained to deal with most things. I suppose the closest we've come is having someone who had a suspected appendicitis, and we were making ground to get the helicopter out when it turned out that he wasn't actually in need of that assistance, but it's good to have it here just in case.
And have you ever wondered how Navy men keep their uniforms crisp and sparkling white?
Lots of effort. Watch it on a daily basis and make sure you don't touch anything you can possibly avoid it.
How on earth do you manage that when you're on a ship this big?
Just don't lean on anything.
Definitely some advice to keep. Well, my adventures aboard the HMS Protector here are done, but since Captain Angus has said they'll be back next year, I'm sure I'll join them on a tour if they're collecting more samples or doing more surveying. For Joy News from Tepa Harbor, I'm Jennifer Ikwama.
And from the rest of us here, thank you for staying with us. Have a lovely weekend. We're back next week.
is Joy News Prime.